Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnanam Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Shreshtam Manumapi Satchiputram Trasarupam Rupam Tasyagrajamarupurim Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhikamadhavasam Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Nadasmi Vancha kalpataru vyascha kripa sindhu vyaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah Nikhila shruti mali ratnamala dyute nirajita padapankajanta Aji mukta kulairupashyamanam paritastam harinam samshrayami Anarpita charin chirat karunayavatirna kalam Shamarpaitum balarasam savakti shriyam Hari purata sundara dyuti kadamba sandipita Sada hridaye kandare spurato vasachinandana Hajanulambita bhujo kanakavadato Sankirtanaikapitaro kamalaya Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Jugadharmabalo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataru Ladini Shakti Sarupaya Gauranga Suridaya Cha Bhakta Shakti Pradhanaya Gadadhara Namostate He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Radhe Vrindavanadishe Karunamrita Vahini Kripaya Nijapadabja Dasyan Mayam Pradiyatam Bhaktya Vinaya Paradha Lakshay Kshiptas Chakamaditarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanam Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Srila Gurudev ki jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Gaur Gadadhar Ji ki jai, Shri Radha Govinda ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Brahma-stuti ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanand Hari Hari Om. So, Pranam to all, good morning. So finally we are here in our last day, in my last day in Ananda Dham, externally speaking. But somehow something has been stolen from me, so somehow I may remain here, although my body will continue traveling around the world. So pray for that to happen. So somehow I may remain at the feet of Sri Sri Gaur Gadadhar and the local Vaishnavas. But again, as we spoke today, separation is a necessary item in our dynamics, relationships. So the impending separation is coming to increase the joys of future reunion. So in that sense, today we are concluding our series of lectures here in Nandatam with one last verse from Brahma-stuti. Today we will be seeing verse 35. Still we have 5 more verses to conclude the whole Brahma-stuti. So those will be shared when in my next testing in Costa Rica. And maybe some other further classes about conclusion for the rest of the chapter, if you will.
And I will give you the YouTube link if those who want to follow the classes.
That's in case. And we have all the previous ones there as well. Yeah. But today we have come to a very special verse, as we will see. But first I will make a summary of previous one yesterday. So we connect to today's class. So in yesterday's verse was verse 34, in which Brahma was praying to be bathed by the dust of Raj. And he will say, I'll repeat the verse briefly. He says, my greatest possible good fortune will be to take any type of birth in this forest, so that I can receive the abhishek of the food dust of someone in Gokul for whom Bhagavan Mukunda is their entire life and soul. And the dust of his lotus feet is still being soaked by the personified Vedas even to this day. It's a very, very powerful prayer, which is somehow similar to what Brahma prayed for in verse 30. But in this verse, Brahma is more specific about being born in any form but in Braj. So it's more specific than that prayer, but at the same time, it's not fully specific in terms of which is the ultimate attainment Brahma wants to obtain in the Braj. So due to very intense humility, he's not saying directly, I want a birth as a Gopa in Sakyarasa. So as we explained yesterday, this verse is very similar to one famous verse by Uddhav as well, where he prays similarly. And Krishna here may ask Brahma, like, instead of being born in Braj, why want we to remain in Satyalok, in Brahmalok? Like here Brahma is saying, my Bhuri Bhagya, my greatest fortune will be Raj Abhishek. So we mentioned he's accustomed to receive royal bathing, but this is his royal bathing, being bathed in the dust of Vrindavan. And of course, why these Brajavasis are so fortunate? Because for them, Krishna is the all in all, their very lives. They will die without him. If he will be they will be without him for a minute. So in this verse, Brahma is praying for exclusive birth in somewhere in Braj. Some commentators mentioned that by 5 words, Brahma is rejecting other types of goals. So he's rejecting mukti, he's rejecting swarga, high birth as a Brahmin, birth in the city, or birth in other forests apart from Braj. And in that forest of Braj, he's open to be born in any form. Even like a stone, like a cloth, something there. No? And he says even one speck of that dust of Braj is enough to fulfill all my desires.
This verse, some Brajvasis, they say, oh Brahma, he wants like to be the stone in front of the house, even when they enter the house, the stone to sweep their feet. Oh, that stone.
Even that one. Even that one. Yeah. So he's praising the glories of even one speck of the dust of Brajraj. And then we explain a little bit why it is said that the Vedas have not attained Krishna, if you will. Also, we explain why Brahma is calling Krishna Mukunda here as a giver of liberation. But he who does not give this Braj Bhakti is not something so easily given. In other words, it's not so easily requested, searched after. Of course, we also explain how Brajvas understand the name Mukundas. He whose face is like Mukunda flower. So overall, in this verse, Brahma is expressing great humility, but combined with great determination. I must obtain that food dust. Which again, obtaining food dust means I must obtain the grace of the Brajavasis, the Ragatmikas. So eventually I became a Gopa and Sakyaras as I like, as I yearn for. But even if in this lifetime that's attainment is not possible, at least let me be born in Braj in any form. So in this way, after speaking about his own good fortune in some verses, after speaking about the Brajavasi's good fortune in some other verses, oh Bhagyam and so on, lots of Bhagya here and there in all these verses. Now Brahma in today's verse somehow will turn to Krishna's own Bhagya or good fortune. And as Brahma's good fortune is in connection to the Brajavasi's good fortune, Brahma here will show how Krishna's good fortune is also in connection to the Brajavasi's good fortune. He will present Krishna here with a very unique question, which is, how will you repay them back? So this will be a very interesting question that with very interesting consequences. What type of thoughts this creates in Krishna, which will be the implications of that in the future. So that will be a very interesting way of concluding our series here at the feet of Golgadadhars. We will see. So let's go to today's verse. We have there in the whiteboard. And this is a little bit longer than all the ones we have seen till now. So as Krishna Chandra Prabhu was telling me, Brahma's...
You can see it?
We can't see because
maybe
it's
here.
behind.
I have to take
Or maybe here, maybe if you want to put it here, maybe, I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe here with the light, maybe easier. So the more Brahma is starting to overflow, the longer the verses are becoming, we can see. More is coming, so the meter have to expand. But interesting, we will see that after this verse, which reaches some sort of climax, then there are 5 verses in which Brahma, of course, will conclude his prayers, but in a more sober way, more calm. So after this zenith high point of the Brahma-stuti, which in one sense is the highest point, we could say also. No, some arrangement is done, and the meter starts to become shorter again after the next verse. So the verse, I'll repeat first. This is in Sardula Bikriditam. This is very interesting chanda or meter. Like the first verse of Chikshastakam and some other famous verse. So it says like this. Isham Ghosha Nivasinam Tabhavam Kim Devarate Tinas Cheto Vishwaphalat Phalam Tvadaparam Kutrapyayan Mohyati Sadveshadiva Putanapi Sakula Tvameva Deva Pita Yadha Marta Surit Priyatma Tanaya Pranasaya Stvatkriti. So we can try. Isham Goshani Vasinam Utavavam Kim Devarade Dinas Cheto Vishwapalat Phalam Tvadaparam Kutrapyayan mohyati Sadvesha iva putanapi sakula Tvameva deva pita Yadhamarta suhrit priyatmatanaya Pranaya Satvatkrite. Okay, beautiful verse. So I'll share the translation and then we'll go to the word by word. So Brahma will show some other type of bewilderment here. Remember, these prayers came as the result of Bimohan, bewilderment, but now he's reaching another type of bewilderment. And his question will take Krishna to another type of bewilderment for himself. So Brahma says, my mind becomes bewildered just trying to think of what other reward other than you could be found anywhere. You are the embodiment of all benedictions which you bestow upon these residents of the cowherd community of Vrindavan. You have already arranged to give yourself to Putana and her family members in exchange for her disguising herself as a devotee. So what is left for you to give to these devotees of Braj, whose homes, wealth, friends, dear relations, bodies, children, and very lives, and hearts are all dedicated only to you? So that's Brahma's question. So let's go to the word by word, and we'll try to elaborate something on this verse. So I'll repeat the terms and you can repeat after me. Hesham Gosha Nivashinam. To these residents of the cowherd community. Bhuta. Indeed. Bhavan. You. Kim. What? Deva. O Lord. Rata. Will give. Iti. Thinking thus. Naha. Our. Chetaha. Mind. Vishwapalat. Who are the supreme source of all benedictions. Phalam. A reward. Tvat aparam. Other than you. Kutra api. Anywhere. Ayat. Not understanding. Mohyati. Becomes bewildered. Satvishat. Because of the dress of a devotee. Iva. As if. Putana. Api. Even. Sakula. Along with her family members. Tvameva. That same you. Deva. O Lord. Apita. Was caused to attain. Yat. Whose. Dhamma. Homes. Artha. Wealth.
Wealth.
Surit,
Surit.
friends,
Friends.
Priya,
Priya.
dear relatives,
Dear relatives.
Atma,
Atma.
bodies, or also can mean souls. Tanaya,
Tanaya.
children.
Children.
Prana,
Prana.
life air.
Life air.
Ashayaha,
Ashaya.
and minds.
Und Geist.
Tvatkrite,
Vatrite.
dedicated to you.
Dedicated to you.
A long verse. So basically, this is the verse. Brahma's bewilderment is how you will repay back to the Brajavasis.
Oh, Krishna.
Because
Wie wirst du das den Einwohnern von Vrindavan?
can we make the translation a little bit closer, or is not possible, difficult?
What?
A little bit lower in volume, or because it kind of mixes maybe a little bit. Maybe they can get. You are translating only for her, no?
No, for them also.
Oh, okay. That's okay, no problem. I thought it was only for her. So Brahma is asking, my mind becomes wilder just thinking about you are the topmost reward. There's no other reward higher than you. I have two here. Thank you. So you are the highest reward, and you gave yourself as a reward to someone like Putana, who wanted to kill you. So and you are the highest reward. So which will be the reward you will give to the Brajavasis, who instead of wanting to kill you, they are willing to kill themselves for your sake? You follow the point, the logic of Brahma? If you gave yourself to someone like Putana who want to kill you, I wonder what will you give? You already gave yourself to the Brajavasis as well. So what else is to be given to them? Because they gave everything to you. I don't know how to reply to this question. So let's begin with my Guru Maharaj's commentary in this verse, the Bhaktivedanta Bhavanubhat. And then we continue with other commentaries. So he says, Brahma, with his mind reeling at the staggering measure of the Brajavasis' love for Krishna, reaches the four-headed conclusion. With his four heads, he thinks a lot and reaches a four-headed conclusion that as a result of their selflessness, in which everything they do and everything they are connected with is for Krishna's pleasure alone, Krishna remains eternally indebted to the Brajavasis. Yes, he has given himself, and himself is everything. So he has given himself in return to the Brajavasis. But he also gave himself to Putana, who merely dressed as a Brajavasi. No, she was an imitation Brajavasi. What then does Krishna have left to give to his Braja Lila Bhaktas? In this way, Brahma accurately depicts Krishna as an eternal debtor. Such is the wealth of Braja Bhakti. So my Guru Maharaj's conclusion is, the wealth of the Prem of Braj is such that basically Krishna cannot repay back that. So God is made an eternal debtor. Everyone else, Krishna is Lakshmi Pati, the master of Lakshmi, the goddess of good fortune. No. But in Vrindavan, he remains eternal in debt. His bank account of Prem is in red numbers. Because there is so much Prem there that he cannot just repay back. So this is a very well thought out conclusion by Brahma, my Guru Maharaj said. Krishna is an eternal debtor. That's a four-headed Siddhanta he has reached. Thinking as much as he could with his four heads. He thinks really well. He has lots of capacity to reflect. So he's our Adi Guru in our Brahma Madhva Sampradaya. So our Adi Guru is giving us the essence of Braja Lila here. And which is the essence of this Braja Lila, that God himself becomes so much consumed by the love of the Brajavasis that he finds it difficult, or not to say impossible, to repay back. Because whatever Krishna may offer to the Brajavasis, the Brajavasis immediately take that and offer that in service to Krishna. Whatever they have is just conceived to give pleasure to Krishna. And of course, here Brahma makes his case even strongly by contrasting the Brajavasi situation with that of Putana. So we know she's the very first demoness that was killed by Krishna. After a few days, he was born. And the name Putana actually means the most sinful. Puta means pure, and na means not. So not pure at all. And she wanted to kill Krishna. So that's the worst possible thing you can think of. I won't tell the details of the story, but I think you know it. Putana appeared to Krishna like dressed as a Brajavasi, disguised as a Brajavasi, offering her breast milk to the newborn baby. She had put poison on her breast, wanting to kill the baby. That will be in all the news in the newspapers. If a lady appears and wants to breastfeed a baby and actually want to kill it, it's like, what? That's the worst problem. And which was the result? Krishna sucked the breast and gave him the position. They gave him Vatsalya Prem in Golok. So this is an example of what we call Kripa Siddhi, which means perfection attained by extreme mercy. Extreme mercy means there was no sadhana included whatsoever. She didn't deserve that at all. But Krishna wanted to bestow that on her. Okay, oh, she dresses a Vaishnavi, how nice. Let's give her Vatsalya Prem. There's a famous verse in this connection. Another Aho. No? Another Aho verse. There are many Aho slokas in the Vad. Aho Vakyam Stanakala Kutam Diktyan Sayapaya That Apya Sadvi Lebheng Dating Gatri Utitam Tatonyam Kambandayalum Sharanam Brajema. Uddhava is reciting this verse, the third canto of the Vad. He began saying, "Oh," he's astonished, saying, "No," he said, "How can someone surrender to someone more merciful than Krishna?" Like implying, there's no such a person. There's no one more merciful than him. And what's the proof that he's the most merciful? That he gave to Putana the position of a mother in Vrindavan, while she approached him with the intention of killing him. But only because she dresses a Vaishnavi and offers her breast. Krishna says, "Oh, how nice. She's offering her breast and dressing as a Vaishnavi. Nice tilak. Kripa Siddhi, go to Golok." How can be someone more merciful than this? Extreme example of costless mercy. So, but nonetheless, Putana's intention was the worst possible ever. So again, the Gaudiya logic in this example and in Brahma's thinking, okay, Brahma is developing this unique Gaudiya thinking, if you want to put it like that. No? So Krishna gave himself totally to Putana. In which sense he gave her Vatsalya Prem. So if someone has Vatsalya Prem, means Krishna is giving completely to someone who has that Prem. We already spoke that these days. Krishna gives himself completely to Prem. So if he gives Prem to someone, it means he's giving himself to that person because he gives himself to Prem. So in that sense, Krishna gave himself completely to Putana by giving her complete Vatsalya Prem, if you will. So again, but Brahma's question is, so what then remains to be given to the Brajavasis? Because the Brajavasis didn't want to take Krishna's life away. But the Brajavasis are giving away their whole life for Krishna.
Aber sie geben ihr ganzes Leben.
As the verse saying, their family, relationships, homes, wealth, mind, heart, everything 108% directed to Krishna's service. 108% for his pleasure.
Für seine Freude.
So can you see the contrast, the extreme contrast of the two examples? Someone wants to kill Krishna, the other ones are willing to kill themselves for Krishna.
It's like, two. One is working a year and one other only 1 minute, and they get the same payment.
Exactly, that's the point. So Brahma is saying, and this is even in one sense much worse, because this implies one wants to kill Krishna and the others I want to give everything for him. But the two of them seem to be receiving the same result. So Brahma said, this is not working like this. Brahma feels partial to the Brajavasis. Remember, Brahma is becoming a Brajavasi, getting closer and closer. So he, at one point, he's kind of saying, Krishna, this cannot be. They have to receive something else. So he's even subtly reclaiming to Krishna and being biased towards the Brajavasis here. So that shows how Brahma is getting closer and closer to his ideal. So anyhow, some words regarding my Guru Maharaj's commentary. And let's continue today with the different other ancient commentaries. So let's begin with Sridhar Swami, who will paraphrase Brahma to begin with. So Brahma will tell to Krishna, you remain indebted to the Brajavasis due to their bhakti. Their bhakti makes you a debtor. And Krishna may reply to Brahma, but why do you say I'm a debtor? So Brahma replies with this verse here. And Brahma will tell to Krishna, in case, Krishna, you reply, I'll be debt-free by giving myself to them, Brahma will say, that's not quite possible. Why? Because merely by imitating the appearance of a devotee, even sinful putana attained you. So if you say to me, okay, then I will give myself to putana's relatives. Then Brahma says, I will say to you that whatever you gave to Putana, Putana's relatives are Bakasura, Agasura, which also with them obtain mukti. And Brahma says, whatever you gave to them is not a good enough gift to give to your Brajavasis, whose homes and everything are meant for you alone. Like implying also, you gave to Bakasura and Agasura mukti. But you cannot give mukti to the Brajavasis. I mean, they are not interested in that. They don't want to be free from the world. They want to use their house and family and animal for your service. They don't want to be devoid of those things because they want to offer all of that to you. They don't care for mukti. So this way, Brahma in this verse is expressing, as we mentioned, an upgraded version of his vimohan, his bewilderment. Another level of aho, of bewilderment, astonishment. No? He's bewildered while pondering. Brahma is bewildering by pondering. Again, what can you give as a reward to these Brajavasis who are giving to you in such a way? No? They are giving to you in such a way that what can you give to them? No? What can you give to someone who is giving already themselves in such a special way? Let's go to Sanatana Goswami's Brihadashram Tosani. Today I may try to go a little bit quicker than usual because I know we don't have that much time. So Sanatana Goswami says, Brahma's mind is bewildered. So here the word for bewildered is muhyati. Because of the inability to come to a conclusion. That's right. Whenever you want to come to a conclusion about something and you think about that, but you are not able to reach the conclusion, that creates something called muhyati. What's going on? What's happening? What's the conclusion here? Now, interestingly, the very first verse of the Bhagavatam says muhyanti yat suraya. So we can connect this verse to the very first verse of the Bhagavatam. Somehow that line is like anticipating what will happening in this section of the Braja Lila. So the meaning of that line is, in relation to you, Krishna, even the devas become bewildered. It's a general statement. It doesn't specify in which sense. But in connection to you, even great personalities, sages, devas, become mohyati, become bewildered. No? So now Brahma is saying mohyati, confirming the first verse of the Bhagavatam. No? Yes, I'm bewildered. Especially in connection to you in your Braja Lila, that's especially bewildering. So Sanatana Goswami said Brahma expresses bewilderment because of not reaching a conclusion, or he gets bewilderment for another reason, because of the anxiety of thinking Krishna is only under the control of the Brajavasis. And because he's a debtor to them, probably he will abandon me and stay right here. So for a minute, Brahma is anxious, like he's so much indebted to them that maybe I will be left because I'm not the Brajavasi yet. So Sanatana Swami that says that may be the reason for his bewilderment also. But ultimately, again, his bewilderment is by comparing this situation, Putana, Brajavasis. Putana, Brajavasis. Huh? No problem. Putana can enter at any moment. You have to be ready.
Well, if I get in that position, I will be very happy and great.
You're already dressing as a devotee. So in this verse, the word sad vesh is used, which means like vesh, like dressed as a sad, as a devotee. But also Sanatana Goswami changes the division of the two words and says sad dvesht. Dvesh means to be hating the devotees. So the two expressions apply to Putana. No? She was dressed as a devotee, but actually she hated the devotees. And she wanted to kill Krishna. So even though Putana hated the devotees, Sanatana Goswami says, because she wanted to kill the devotees by killing Krishna. If you kill Krishna, you kill all the Brajavasis. No? Indra thought in a similar way, but the other way around. He thought, I will send all these rains after the Govardhan Puja. I will kill all the Brajavasis, and therefore Krishna will be dead, because he cannot survive without the Brajavasis. So he had a good insight. Without them, he's dead. But the insight was in the context of trying to kill them. If I kill the Brajavasis, Krishna is dead. No? Here, Putana thought the opposite. I will kill Krishna, all the Brajavasis will be dead. Same principle. One cannot live without the other. But so even that person, Putana, such a hater of the devotees, and not only she, but even her family members, all of them famous as killing children, that was this reputation. They attain you. All of them attain you somehow, no, in one level or another. And why she attained you, for example, because she offered her breast for you to suckle. And her family members attained some liberation because of connection with Putana. No, when King Brahma says Sakula means along with your family members. This refers to Bhakasura and Agasura. So the idea is because of some connection with Putana, these other two demons attained the touch of Krishna. Now Krishna entered into Agasura. Krishna
Krishna's
killed
Bakasura.
Bakasur, he touched him, if you will, Bakabit, Mhm. and they too attained mukti because of being touched by Krishna. So again, try to enter into the thinking of Brahma. Then he goes from there to the Brajavasis. And Sanatana Goswami says, in this way, Brahma will ask Krishna, what reward other than you? You are already the embodiment of all prices. He's calling him Vishwafala, which how come in the universal fruit. So what other than you will you give to these people in the land of Braj? Because you cannot give them a birth in Braj as you gave to Putana. Because they already have a birth in Braj. They are Brajavasis. You follow. You gave to Putana a birth as a Brajavasi. That was the reward. But what you will give to the Brajavasis, who are already born there. So Krishna might say to this, Sanatana Goswami mentions, I will give the people of Braj my transcendental abode, my wealth, and a host of other gifts. And I will also give myself to them. I will clear my debt in this way. But Brahma responds in this verse saying, but they have offered everything for your sake. They have offered everything to serve you. So if you give them as much as they gifted you, that will be only a shadow of gratitude on your part. You follow? If I give you something and you give me that back to me, it's like, no? If I give you a gift, okay, no? Sonia, here you have a gift, and you tell me, here, Maharaj, you have a gift. It's like, okay, thank you. So Brahma is kind of saying that to Krishna, that's a shadow of gratitude. That's not real gratitude. And this does not make you accomplish your special famous compassion. No? You are known throughout Vedas as Karuna Sindhu, as an ocean of mercy. So you cannot just, if you just make a show or shadow of compassion, maybe your name as Karuna Sindhu will be taken away from you. Yeah, Karuna Bindu, just one drop of mercy. You are not given an ocean, you are given a drop now. No? So Brahma doesn't want Krishna to be defamed. No? I want you to keep your good reputation, and all the names you have to remain in place. So please act according to your name. So again, what will you give them then? End of the commentary on Sanatana Goswami. No? Because Krishna doesn't know what to say. Krishna remains like,
Even Sanatana Goswami has no answer.
Sanatana will say, he will have an answer, as we will see when he comments on a future verse that we will quote at the end of today's lecture. So as Brahma had thought about this, Krishna thinking about this, Sanatana Goswami thinking about this, and we should think about this also. It's good that we engage our thinking capacity in this type of logic or this type of thinking process. Develop this type of sensibility and think in these ways. Like when my Guru Maharaj says, if you read the Bhagavatam superficially, it seems that Krishna was in Vrindavan the first 11 years of his life. And the Brajavasis gave everything to them, as to him, as we know. But at one point he went to Mathura, he went to Dwarka, and then he closed his Leela, and Bhagavatam is over. So if you are okay with that conclusion, it means you have not read the Bhagavatam properly. If you read the Bhagavatam properly, even if you don't understand what's happening, you have to feel Krishna must have returned to Vrindavan. He promised that. The love of the Brajavasis is such that he had somehow to fulfill his promise, to reciprocate to their love. It cannot be like that. This cannot be the conclusion of the Bhagavatam, that he just left them. You follow? So we have to start to develop this type of feeling and thinking, this type of devotional thinking. It's a way of thinking, but with feeling. No. So this is a similar thing here. Brahma is developing this thinking, feeling, Brajavasi inclined capacity. How will you reciprocate to them? I will give myself. Okay, no. But I say, no, not okay. You gave yourself to Putana and she wants to kill you. So the more we get close to our goal, the more we will start to develop this type of psychology. Let's go to Srila Jiva Goswami's commentary. Krishna may say here, most of the commentators will present some dialogue in relation to this verse. So Krishna may say here, I could have given their food dust to people of your kind, he says to Brahma. I can give the food dust of the Brajavasis to people like you, Brahma, as the topmost reward. But what might I give them? So Jiva Goswami begins the commentary by making Krishna asking Brahma about this. No? Because Brahma is praying for the food dust of the Brajavasis as Bhuri Bhagya, greatest fortune. So Krishna says, I can give that to you, but what should I give to them? So Brahma will hear that and he will in this verse further emphasize Krishna's point, basically. And like saying, what can you give to the people of Braj? Because there's nothing superior to you and there's nothing superior to Braj. But you have already given yourself to them and you have already given Braj to them. They are Brajavasis. So they already have Braj and they have you. The idea of this is you don't have a place above this Brajabhumi. And there is not a highest reward other than this Swarup of yours that I'm seeing now, Brahma says. So with this, Brahma is also establishing the supremacy of both Braj and Braj Krishna. So that could be say that that's the first bewilderment of Brahma here. Wow, there's nothing superior to you and to your Braj. And then the second bewilderment is, of course, what you will give to this Brajavasa. So what you will give to them and where? No, is there a separate higher place than Braj? No. To my mind is bewildered. Brahma says, Muhyati. And again, Krishna's mind starts to become bewildered as well. Like, what to reply? We will see Krishna is not replying here. He starts to think deeply about this. Then Jiva Goswami says that it's understood that Bhaka and Aga, the brothers of Putana, they receive mere liberation, mukti. They didn't receive prem like Putana, Vatsalya. And he said, why? Because they did not look at all like the dress of the village people. Putana seemed dressed like a Brajavasi. And Krishna gave her Vatsalya. But Agasur, Bhagasur didn't dress like as the devotees at Brajavasis. So he gave them Sayuja Mukti. So there is some value in dressing as using devotional clothes, just in case. It's not just something unimportant. So in contrast of that, of course, you also say Putana seemed to wear the clothing of the wet nurse in Braj. But actually he used the word Eva, which means as if, which means she dressed as if she were a Brajavasi. But she just disguised herself to kill Krishna. She didn't wear the clothes out of devotion as a favorable item of bhakti to give pleasure to Krishna or something. She just wanted to hide behind that and kill Krishna. So be careful of dressing as a Vaishnava as an excuse to do something that is not Vaishnavism. As we say yesterday, don't use Krishna as an excuse to gratify your tongue. Oh, he likes milk so much, and actually, so the same principle is there here with Putana, the first Asura Krishna is killing. No? Of course, Putana is considered the false guru by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Or we could say Putana represents this principle of disguising in Krishna Bhakti, putting a show of Bhakti, but for some ulterior motive, some separate interests. So many forms this can take. And that's the first Asura Krishna is killing, like implying, first make sure that this is not happening. Because if not, you can make a whole show of bhakti and you become an hypocrite in the name of devotion. That's so undesirable. It's clear?
Yeah, but I was just thinking something in her must have wanted this also, because otherwise Krishna wouldn't have given.
Something in him what?
In Putana.
Putana must have in one point also wanted this position as wetlands.
Well, there's some connection with her previous life.
Yeah, so
She was the sister of Bali Maharaj. And when she saw Vamandev coming, she saw, oh, such a beautiful boy. Huh? Vamandev was a dwarf. She said, I would like to breastfeed such a beautiful boy. Sambatsalya came. Oh, so beautiful. But then when Vamandev cheated Bali Maharaj, as we know, with the 3 steps of land and took everything from him, Bali Maharaj's sister, Putana in her previous life, say, this boy presented himself as something, but now cheated my brother and took everything from him. I'd like to kill that boy. So she had these 2 desires. I like to breastfeed him and I like to kill him. So now as Putana, she's doing the 2 things. She's breastfeeding him, but wanted to kill him. No?
So it's more that what Krishna said instead of this outer dress.
Sorry again?
So it's more this point that he said, this essence, than the outer dress.
We could say, yeah, of course, but of course the result that Putana is receiving is totally out of proportion to what she actually wanted. No? Because, yeah, she said, I want to breastfeed him in one moment, but then I want to kill him. And yeah, Krishna took, she wants to breastfeed me, and she's dressed as a Vaishnava. She only saw that part. Yeah, again, that's an extreme example of that. She's going beyond all. Okay, she wants to kill. But she's dressing nicely, offering her breast. Let's send her to Golok. So the point again, the contrast here that Brahma is saying is, how can she as well as her relatives get the same result as your Brajavasis? Over and over again, he's coming back and forth and saying, in the scale, there's no point of comparison. Sanatana Goswami continues paraphrasing Brahma. All the people of Braj spontaneously regard you alone as their treasure. For every one of them, unanimously. Every Brajavasi loves you more than everything else, everyone else. And you regard each of them as your treasure. So both are each other's treasures. So in this way, the Brajavasis are complete. But you, O Deva, the word Deva is used in this verse twice, interestingly. Oh, you're highly venerable, you're the divine Lord. No, Brahma still has some Aishwarya in his constitution. So you are Deva, you are the divine Lord, highly complete. Again, Vibhu, Purna, all these words we spoke before. But in front of the completeness of the love of the Brajavasis, you remain as if incomplete. Because due to your inability to show proper gratitude, not reciprocating accordingly. So again, Brahma said, so what will you give them? So I will repeat the same thing with each commentary, because every one of them will will side with Brahma and the Brajavasis, and all of them together will tell Krishna, what will you give them?
Was wirst du ihnen geben?
Therefore,
Deshalb,
assuming that you are under their control
es ist aus, dass du unter ihrer Kontrolle
because you owe them so much,
du schuldest ihnen so viel.
it is fitting,
Ist es recht,
Brahma is saying,
ist es
that I go and take shelter of their foot dust
gehe ich und nehme Zuflucht bei dem Sterben,
so that my ambition in relation to you becomes fulfilled.
dass wenn dieses mein Wunsch in Beziehung zu dir erfüllt sein
So again, this is a very Raganuga advanced sadhaka, Brahma,
Brahma muss in Raganuga Sauter
because he has approached Krishna now. He's approaching Krishna.
geht er zu Krishna.
But now he realizing, but you are now so indebted to the
Du
Brajavasis.
bist jetzt auch verschuldet zu den Brahmanen.
So it's better for me to go take shelter in them.
So dann ist es besser und weiser, wenn ich bei ihnen
Ein-
Zuflucht nehme.
First I tried to take shelter in you,
Vorher wollte ich bei
but
dir
now I'm
Zuflucht
realizing that the real thing is to take shelter in the Brajavasis.
nehmen. Das wichtige Ding ist, wenn
So I can, and through them I will attain you in the best possible way.
Wenn dann bekomme ich dich auf eine viel schönere Weise.
Tat bhava lipshana karya brajalokanusharata. That's definition of Raganuga
Das ist die
Bhakti.
Definition von Raganuga.
You take shelter in one of the eternal residents of Raj, one of the Ragatmikas,
Die ewigen
and Anuga. You follow the Rag, Raga Anuga, their mood, and then you can serve Krishna through them. As we spoke the other day, no? Dasa, 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 no dasa. We don't want Krishna directly.
Möchte Krishna nicht direkt.
That's not so tasty.
Das ist nicht so köstlich.
So here Brahma is having a very important Raganuga insight.
Das ist die tiefste Raganuga
Ja.
Einsicht.
Their love is such that you are indebted to them eternally.
Also ihre Liebe ist so, dass du
So I'll take shelter in their love,
so dann nehme ich Zuflucht bei ihnen.
and you will even become indebted to me, Brahma
Dann
says.
wirst du vielleicht sogar mir gegenüber verpflichtet.
What's this? Wow. So all this is helping Brahma to awaken to his prospect as a Brajavasi, his own prospect. He wants to be a Brajavasi. So all the things help Brahma to put things in place, to know what's what. Sanatana Goswami concludes. In this way, it should be understood that there's an unfailing bond between Krishna and the people of Braj. Again, each of them are each other's treasure. In this way, Brahma presents the highest philosophical conclusion. So remember, this whole Brahma-stuti is presenting all the philosophical conclusions of our Gaudiya Sampradaya. Brahma-stuti is especially renowned as a section in the whole Bhagavatam, as a chapter in which all the Siddhanta, all these philosophical conclusions of our school are presented very systematically. But here Sanatana Goswami said Brahma is presenting the highest philosophical conclusion. So the zenith of Siddhanta, no? The apex. No? So in other words, this verse could be seen as the highest conclusion of the Brahma-stuti, the highest point. Of course, as we said the other day, many verses of the Brahma-stuti could be considered the highest from different perspectives. So from one perspective, this is the highest and the most important. And which is this highest philosophical conclusion? Only this kind of love, the prem of the Brajavasis, which controls Krishna, only this love is the topmost prize. No? This is the ultimate goal of life. Love is its own reward, as they said. There's no higher reward than love. So prem is the goal of life. Krishna is not the goal of life. Prem is the goal of life, even for Krishna. You follow? You attain prem, but prem is of such a nature that you can always keep attaining it in higher levels. So prema remains the goal of life, always. For a devotee, but for Krishna, because prem is in relation to Krishna, is reciprocal. So prem is a real prayojan, the real goal of life. because it's the goal of life not only for us but for God Himself eternally. So that's the ultimate implication of the concept of prem prayojan. It's such a highest fruit to attain that even God Himself considers this my goal, and I can never have enough of that. I can always have more. That's why we have Nitya Lila, because eternally they need to have a situation in which they can attain higher and higher levels of prem. So this is the highest philosophical conclusion of the Brahma-stuti. And of course, as we will see, this will play out, this highest philosophical conclusion, it will fully bloom and flourish in the highest rasa section of the Bhagavatam, which is the Rasa Panchadhyaya, the 5 chapters connected to the Rasa Lila. And we will conclude in a few minutes this verse, seeing how today's verse is in connect this high point of Siddhanta presented here is connected to this higher point of Rasa and Bhava presented in Rasa Panchadhyaya. But wait for a few minutes.
And it's also interesting that everywhere in the Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like hinted.
Again, sorry,
Everywhere in the Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is hinted.
I see.
Like when prema is also the goal for the Lord, and He eternally yearns for it. So He has a special form. So it's even there in this verse.
Yeah. That's the Gaudiya lens, if you will. If you present that same, if you give this verse to someone from the Sri Sampradaya, at Shankaracharya, they won't see all the things. No. Not downplaying them, they have a particular lens to read these verses. So that's why it's so important to go through the Bhagavatam, through the tikas, the commentaries, because they will give us a particular approach and perspective. So yeah, we Gaudias will find our deity everywhere. Like this famous verse, Krishna Varna Cha Krishna, we'll say, oh, that's about Mahaprabhu. But if you say that verse to someone from another Sampradaya, they won't say find Mahaprabhu there. And they will have their own way of explaining the verse in another way, which makes sense for them. And which is okay, but from our subjective perspective, this is totally about Mahaprabhu. But not only that verse, but many other verses. Every verse, if you develop the proper vision, is pointing to your deity. So again, we will conclude today's session by pointing to one famous verse of the Bhagavatam connected to this verse and pointing to Mahaprabhu. Probably more than any other verse in the Bhagavatam. But patience is a virtue, so wait for a minute. Utsahani shayat dhairyat. Let's go to Srinivas Suri's commentary. Today I'm switching the order for some particular reason. Okay. And also I was testing if the audience. Again, we have a shorter commentary from Vishwanath. No commentary today? No. There's a lot to tell today. So yeah, if we go on chronological order, we should go to Vishwanath commentary today, but we'll begin with Srinivas Suri. We'll conclude with Vishwanath Chakravarti because he ends making some point that we will develop in our conclusion. So Srinivas Suri presents a very interesting dialogue between Brahma and Krishna. So Brahma will tell Krishna, although you are the Lord, Deva, again, what reward other than you, who are the embodiments of all rewards, will you give to the Brajavasas? So Krishna says, I will give them a form similar to mine. No? Something like Sarupya Mukti. And Brahma will say, according to Srinivas Suri, Brahma says, no. You already gave that to evil Putana because she had the dress of a mother. but she was only imitating being a
Ich habe
mother.
das nur imitiert.
So again, and Krishna will say, fine,
Gut,
I will clear my debt to them by giving them liberation.
dann werde ich ihnen Befreiung geben.
Brahma will reply, nahi. That is not good enough for these Brajavasis.
Das ist doch nicht genug gut genug.
Because you gave liberation to Bhak and Aga.
Du hast schon Befreiung gegeben zu ihren Brüdern.
So-
und anders.
Do you understand? Krishna say, I will give this, no, I will give Sarupya Mukti and a form like the Brajavasis, and Krishna, Brahma will say, you gave that to Putana.
Sorry, das hast du Putana schon gegeben.
Krishna say, I will give them Mukti.
Dann werde ich ihnen Mukti
Brahma will say, you give that to the brothers of Putana.
Das hast du den Brüdern von Putana schon gegeben.
And Krishna will reply, why is it not good enough for them, all these things, for the Brajavasis?
Gut genug für die Brahmasis.
What is not enough to give those things to them? Brahma will say, repeating the verse here, their homes,
Ihre
Wealth,
Zuhause, ihre
beloveds, own children,
ihre
senses, and thoughts
alles
are only for your sake.
ist nur für dein
And
Nutzen.
Brahma concludes saying, you remain in debt to them.
Und du bist ewig verschuldet zu ihnen.
Because these Brajavasis are Anyavilasita Sunyam. First idea that Rupa Goswami gives with defining Uttam Bhakti. Totally free
Sie sind gänzlich
Sunyam from Anya Abhilas. Abhilas means desire, and Anya means like separate. So all separate desire,
alle unabhängig.
one has to be free from them
Von
completely.
denen darf man sich befreien.
Which doesn't mean you should not have desires.
Nicht, dass ich keine
On the
Wünsche
contrary, the Brajavasis have more desires than anywhere else,
habe. Die
anyone
einen
else.
haben mehr Wünsche als irgendjemand.
But all of them go
Aber alle gehen
in the service of Krishna.
auf den zu dienen.
But they have more greed, desire,
Sie haben
longing,
viel mehr Intensität von
than we.
Wünschen und Gier.
because the object of our longing and desire in this world is small, slight, diluted.
Unsere Gier
But when
zur
Krishna
Welt
is the
so
object of
klein.
that, oh, how much desire you can have, how much longing, how much greed in a perfect way. So everything they have is just one pointed at his feet.
Sie haben nicht einpünktlich.
So there's no point of comparison. You remain in debt. Conclusion of Brahma.
Schuld.
So let's go to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Sarartha Darshini. It will be a very interesting commentary. His commentary is as long as the verse is long. So fasten your seatbelts or the opposite, so you can open the window so you will be flying from there. No? So Sri Vishwanath says, here Brahma may ask, oh Lord Deva, if you don't want to clearly say if I will attain the dust of the inhabitants of Braj, that I'm requesting out of greed, then don't say, but you must answer this. What reward will you give the residents of Braj? So this is in connection to the previous verses, of course. No? Remember, Brahma is asking, allow me to be born in any form in Braj. But Krishna is not saying anything yet. So Brahma is like, will I attain that or not? You are not being very clear. Krishna is not saying anything, or according to some commentators, as we have seen, he will say some things in between, like the dialogues that we have seen. But Krishna has not been clear about, okay, I grant you that. So Brahma here says, if you don't want to clearly say if I will attain that or not, okay. If you don't want to be clear about that, okay. But let's be clear about something. There is something you must answer to me. What you will give to these Brajavasis. So Brahma doesn't care for his own situation now. He's caring for the Brajavasis, which that's a very interesting way of showing his advancement also. So then Brahma asks this to Krishna, no? What reward will you give them? So Krishna replies according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. But Brahma, you know the true meaning of the Vedas. You are Brahma. So you can ponder over this matter and figure it out by yourself.
Du bekommst ganz viele Töpfe, aber
So Krishna said, why you're asking me?
wieso fragst du mich?
You have 4 heads.
Du hast 4,
I have one,
ich habe nur einen.
and mine is smaller than your 4 heads.
Deine sind.
So you can
Kleiner als deine
you can think about this and find the answer for yourself.
Du kannst doch die Antwort selber rausfinden.
You know the Vedas. You are famous for knowing the
Du
Vedas.
bist bekannt als derjenige, der die Veden kennt.
So why you're coming to me, an ignorant, uncivilized Gopa,
Wieso kommst du einfache Gopa
with these complex theological
mit
questions?
so komplexen theologischen Fragen?
So that's Krishna's reply. You figure it out by yourself.
Du kannst es selber herausfinden, mach mal.
And Brahma will imply, I've tried my best.
Das habe ich also versucht.
But Brahma says here, according to Vishwanath, our minds are bewildered.
Aber unser Geist ist verwirrt.
This is an important point here. He's using actually the plural. We translated this in singular to make a little bit more sense of the idea. But he says, the verse is here, Brahma is not saying my mind is bewildered.
Das nimmt nicht, was mein
He's saying,
Geist
Naha.
verwirrt.
Naha means our minds
Unser
are bewildered.
Geist ist verwirrt.
So Sanatan Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, but using this word Naha, Nas, which means our,
Unsere
Brahma implies
sagt eigentlich Brahma,
not only my mind,
nicht nur dein,
but the minds of Shiva, Kumar, Narada, and all these white philosophers are also bewildered.
alles sind verwirrt.
In other words, we have made this Chagosti and got together trying to think about this question that I'm presenting.
Wir alle Nähe, was sind wir zusammengesessen?
But we were not able to reach
Diskutiert, aber wir sind nicht
a solution to that.
alle eine Lösung gekommen.
So it's in plural. Our minds have bewildered, not only mine.
Nicht nur mein Geist, unser aller Geist ist verwirrt.
Krishna will ask to this, reply to this. Exactly what is the state of your minds?
What is that?
State of the condition of your minds.
Zustand von dem Geist.
What's the background to your bewilderment?
Was ist der Hintergrund?
So try to imagine Krishna. Remember, he's with a morsel of food, yet they're looking for his friends and calves.
Mit einem Stückchen Essen.
What's the state of your bewilderment?
So, mit Joghurt noch davon.
So Brahma will say, although with great intelligence we searched
Oh, wir haben eine große
in all times and places,
und haben Orte und Umstände.
now they make some kind of Google search in every direction. Our minds have become bewildered,
Unser Geist ist noch mehr verwirrt.
trying to think what type of reward
Nachzudenken, was für ein Lohn
you could give to these Brajavasis.
du den Einwohnern geben könntest.
So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says then like the idea of this bewilderment is
Sagt dann, die Idee von dieser Verwirrung
from time immemorial,
seit anfangsloser Zeit,
you who are the condensed form of all rewards,
wer die intensive, kondensierte Form von allen Segnungen ist.
you have been obtained by these Brajavasis
Du wurdest von diesen Einwohnern von den Lernen erlangt.
as a son on us in other loving relationships.
Und in anderen liebevollen Beziehungen.
So if better than you existed,
Wenn jene etwas Besseres als du existieren können,
only then such a better thing will be a suitable gift for them.
nur du hast das etwas Besseres als du, wäre das Geschenk.
However, there's no such a thing.
Aber es gibt ja nichts Besseres.
There's nothing better than you. And you already gave them yourself to them.
Und du hast dich ihnen schon geschenkt.
So what remains to be given? What can you give now? That's why our minds are bewildered.
Und deswegen ist unser Geist verwirrt.
Remember, Krishna asks why you are bewildered. So he's depicting him in more detail. Also, something interestingly in terms of Sanskrit and grammar here, the word Esham, first word of the verse, Esham is used, which this is in the 6th case.
Das ist im sechsten
No?
Fall.
But it is said that when you are expressing that you are giving something to someone,
Aber wenn du etwas ihnen
the 4th case should be used. I don't want to complicate too much things with you in Sanskrit, but there are cases, no, in Sanskrit, and depending what's happening, you have to use one case or the other. So when you're giving someone something to someone that you have not given before, you use the 4th case. But here the 6th case is being used, which the idea is why? Because this implies that Krishna already gave himself to the Brajavasis. So he's not giving something that he has not given before. He has given himself before. Sashti Sambandhi is called technically, which means there's already a relationship between them. He's already the relative. And this is from Anadi, from time without beginning. You follow? So Krishna already belonged to the Brajavasis from time without beginning.
Jetzt war sie schon seit kostenloser Zeit.
So that's why the sixth case is used and not the fourth,
Deswegen
because
ist der sechste Fall
his-
der vierte.
to Putana it will be the fourth case.
Für Putana ist der vierte.
He's given himself to her at one point.
An einem Punkt.
Before that, he was not belonging to her, if you will.
Was vorher mit ihr
But
nicht
with the
war.
Brajavasis,
Aber wie die Einwanderung,
that's there forever.
sie sind immer da.
So Brahma presents this type of thinking,
Brahma versucht das zu denken.
and Krishna will reply,
Und Krishna antwortet,
"Oh Brahma,
oh Brahma,
you don't understand the truth of the matter.
du verstehst das ganze Thema.
I thought you understood the Vedas and all the things, but now I realize
Ich habe gedacht, du verstehst
you're not
das.
understand the whole thing.
Du verstehst das wirklich nicht.
Knowing that the Brajavasis will manifest such astonishing, spontaneous love for me,
Ich weiß, die Einwanderung seine spontane, erstaunliche Liebe für mich entwickelt.
I have given myself in advance to them
Und ich habe mich schon als vorher
Hm.
ihnen geschenkt.
as their son,
Als ihr Sohn,
friend,
als Frau
or lover,
oder Geliebter.
and they are satisfied with this.
Damit sind sie zufrieden.
Other persons
Andere Personen
may be appreciative of what was done in the past.
sind vielleicht wertschätzen, was in der Vergangenheit war.
No, like how Krishna gave himself to Putana after killing her.
Nachdem sie
Huh?
getötet
You follow? First there was something, and then Krishna gave her.
Und dann hat sie Krishna gegeben.
But I, Krishna says, I see the future.
Ich kann die Zukunft sehen.
So like I anticipate to that, and I give myself in advance.
Und ich sehe mich schon als Vorschuss.
And Krishna says, and therefore I'm most excellent. So that's how Krishna tries to reply to Brahma's question. Tries. No? Like saying, I already see past, present, future, so I already know that I already knew about the love of the Brajavasis. So I gave myself first. Again, it's a way of putting that. There's no beginning to that. No? They need to see the Krishna Prema. No? So Brahma hears this reply by Krishna. He's like, yeah, but according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Brahma will say, Prabhu, it's true what you say, but you have not understood my question. So please listen again. This is Brahma speaking to Krishna. By what you are saying, indeed you are being defeated by logic. Why? Because you gave yourself to the Brajavasis and so on. But then he invokes the example of Putana. So although Putana was sinful, the most sinful, just by imitating a devotee, she and all her family attain you. In other words, you made her attain you. Only you made her attain you. Because she imitated the Brajavasis. No? So she was like a plastic gopi. Like these dolls that they sell, it's like a plastic. It's a gopi, but it's a plastic one, imitation. Huh? And you made her attain you. But the original inhabitants of Braj, not the plastic Brajavasi and imitation ones, but the original ones, Nityasiddha Ragatmikas, they, out of great affection, they gave up all attachments to house, wealth, friends, pleasurable objects, body and mind, and they offer all that to you. And they also attain you. So the implication of this is not fair, basically. You have given the exactly same thing, as we already mentioned, to someone who want to kill you and to those who are willing to kill themselves for you. So Krishna speaks as being just in how he reciprocates to the Brajavasis. Remember, he says in the Gita, Jayatmam prapadyanti tam stataiva vajamyaham. According to how you approach me, I reciprocate. Brahma is pointing to that verse now. You said that in the Gita, but I'm not saying this here.
Ich sag's dir.
How you reciprocate with Putana, how you reciprocate with the Brajavasis.
We're talking about rewards.
Mhm. So the point is, and also you gave already yourself to Putana.
Du hast dich schon selber zu Putana gegeben.
So how will you give yourself to the Brajavasis?
So wie willst du dich denn
You cannot give the same object to both.
Du kannst es ja nicht beiden geben.
Because if you give something to someone, you cannot give the same thing to, oh, now I will give it to the other
Und
person.
gebe ich auch noch der anderen.
Because there are two extreme different cases.
Das sind die zwei verschiedenen Fälle.
Again, one wants to kill Krishna,
Jemand, der wirklich
the other loves Krishna the most.
und die anderen lieben Krishna über alles.
So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur then says that Brahma starts to move his nose,
Brahma
his
bewegt seine
eyes,
Nase, Augen
his eyebrows,
und seine
and his
Augenbrauen
neck.
und seinen-
And with that, he's communicating what has not been spoken directly.
Und so kommuniziert er das noch
No?
gar nicht.
So Brahma starts like to do some gesture like this, like playing. Oh, you thought you understood my question, but now I got you.
Ich habe gedacht, du hast gemeint, du hättest meine Frage
Like
verstanden. Jetzt hab
you don't know what to reply now. There's no way to repay back. So he's making this type of mudras. So Vishwanath concludes his commentary.
Thakur endet den Kommentar.
Again, saying, first, Krishna, you gave yourself to the degraded sinner Putana.
Zuerst hast du dich der degradierten Sünderin.
If we think in terms of the Prakat Lila and Krishna's birth, this happened almost when Krishna was a few days.
Krishna 7 Tage alt bei Putana.
So we could say, first, you gave yourself to
Du hast
Putana,
zuerst Putana gegeben,
who was a degraded sinner.
die degradierte Sünderin.
And then you gave yourself to the Brajavasis.
Und dann hast du dich den Einwohner von Brahma
I don't deny that, but that happened after that.
Das ist ja wieder nachgegangen.
But these Brajavasis are not degraded sinners.
Und das sind nicht degradierte.
They are the most exalted Chris jewel of all saintly persons.
Die hohen Juwelen von allen heiligen Personen.
So Brahma says, since you have already given yourself to Putana,
Weil du dich schon Putana geschenkt hast,
you cannot rightly give yourself again as a gift to someone else.
kannst du das nicht nochmal jemand anderem geben.
Brahma says, this is highly improper.
So, das ist nicht mehr ganz richtig.
Therefore, Brahma concludes,
Brahma,
you are now in debt to the residents of Raj.
bist du verschuldet den Einwohnern Vrindavans gegenüber.
And now he says something very interesting. He says, and by acknowledging such a debt,
Und wenn du diese Schuld anerkennst,
that's the only way to repay them back.
dann ist dieses Anerkennen dieser Schuld die Möglichkeit, die Schuld zurückzuzahlen.
The only way to be free from your debt,
Die Möglichkeit,
in other words, that the implication is the only way you can be free from this debt is
die Befreiung,
by remaining in debt,
indem du in der Schuld bleibst,
by accepting the debt,
indem du die
by
Schuld
accepting
anerkennst,
the eternality of this permanent situation.
oder die Ewigkeit dieser Situation.
That's the only thing you can do in order to try to repay that debt, to do something about that.
Die Schuld zurückzusehen.
You cannot actually pay back,
Du kannst es nicht zurückzahlen,
but you should acknowledge that.
aber du solltest es anerkennen.
Follow the point. That's a very interesting conclusion. How Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that the only way you can repay them back is acknowledging the debt.
Du musst einfach anerkennen, dass du verschuldet bist.
Become free by realizing you cannot become free from the debt.
Werde frei, indem du verwirklichst.
So you have to-
anerkennst, dass du nicht frei werden
You have to
kannst.
choose to remain indebted forever. That's the best thing you can do, Krishna.
Das ist
Brahma says.
so, das ist das Beste, was du machen kannst. Ewige Verschuldung.
So he's becoming very expert in his way of thinking and realizations.
So, der Brahma wird
He's becoming a Brajavasi.
wird nämlich
So he's understanding what's actually going on between Krishna and the Brajavasis.
beginnt zu verstehen, was eigentlich passiert zwischen ihm und dem Gottes.
So in connection to this last high point that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is giving us, let's conclude today's lecture by some points that I would like to share. So we have seen how over and over again in the different commentaries in this verse, Brahma is expressing bewilderment, how you will pay back. Again, this whole Brahma-stuti began with bewilderment. Began with Brahma Vimohan Lila, his forehead spinning like nothing. And now at this high point of the Brahma-stuti, again, there is another form of Vimohan, of bewilderment.
Gibt es jetzt eine neue
Muhyati, yes. So we could say again, the foreheads of Brahma are spinning,
Die 4 Köpfe von Brahma.
but for another reason now,
Aber jetzt aus einem anderen
in another direction. First was this, now is this.
Erst so und jetzt so.
Now, this is the ultimate bewilderment, the supreme bewilderment of Brahma.
So, das ist eigentlich das wirkliche Brahma Vimohan Lila.
Yeah, yeah. Brahma Mohan Lila, as they say, 2.0, upgraded,
Brahma Vimohan
maximized.
2.0.
But this upgraded bewilderment of Brahma
Aber dieses
starts also to become Krishna's bewilderment.
wird auch Krishnas Verlieben.
Because again, Krishna is hearing all this being
Krishna hört
questioned by Brahma
diese Fragen
and thinking,
und denkt,
what to do now here? What's the situation?
was ist die Situation?
I remain an eternal debtor
Bleibe ich ewig verpflichtet
to the Brajavasis law.
zu der Liebe der Brajavasis?
So remember, Brahma is asking a question to Krishna here.
Nein,
Please
das ist
reply.
nur eine Frage.
But Krishna doesn't reply, remains silent,
Bleib still und kann nicht antworten.
but enters into a deep thinking process, deep samadhi,
Geht in ganz tiefe
and
Nachdenken.
starts to ponder which is the reach and the implications of this question.
Was ist der andere? Zielt die Frage denn hin?
What is the reach of implications of me being an eternal debtor of the
Was
Brajavasis?
passiert, wenn ich ein ewiger Verschuldeter der Einwanderung bin?
So, okay, I cannot repay back. I'm an eternal debtor, but
Ich kann nicht zurückzahlen.
I cannot just say that and remain sitting like, okay, I'm an eternal debtor. Thank you for your love.
Okay. Danke für
Ja.
eure Liebe. Ich bin einfach ewig verschuldet.
That will be ungrateful nonetheless.
Dann werde ich noch
So again,
immer-
Krishna is not ungrateful.
Aber Krishna ist nicht undankbar.
Krishna is really humble and loving to his Brajavasis.
So liebevoll und demütig vor den Einwanderern.
So he's like keeps like ruminating. No?
Wiederkäutung, Rumination.
So what to do? What to think? Who I am? What's going on?
Das ist-
But he's silent. He's not saying anything here.
Das sagt er nicht.
He's just like, "Hmm." But he will say something in reply to this.
Aber auf das antwortet er jetzt.
But this will come 20 chapters after.
Das ist
in Bhagavatam.
viel später in Bhagavatam.
Here we are in chapter 14.
Wir sind im 14. Kapitel.
So 18 chapters after this,
18 Kapitel
No.
später.
chapter 32,
32. Kapitel.
verse 22, if my memory is not failing, Krishna will finally reply to Brahma's question.
Krishna endlich eine Antwort auf Brahmas Frage.
And this section is, as we mentioned before, the zenith of the
Das
Bhagavatam,
ist das Zenit von Bhagavatam.
which is the Rasa Panchadhyaya.
Das ist der
5
Rasa
chapters
Lila,
connected
die
with
5
Rasa
Kapitel,
Lila.
die mit der Rasa
Somehow defined as the 5 prans of the
Lila,
Bhagavatam.
die 5 Lebensläufe
As there are 5
von
prans, life earths in the body,
Bhagavatam. Hier 5
the 5 chapters are the very life of the Bhagavad, Srimad
Lebensläufe,
Bhagavatam,
5 Kapitel, die Lebensläufe von Bhagavatam.
which of course speak about the Sri Mad, no?
Die
the madness of Sri for Bhagavan.
Verrücktheit der Bhagavatam zu Bhagavatam.
So as you know, I won't enter into the details of the whole Rasa Lila. That will be
Ich kann jetzt nicht ins Rasa Lila
We need-
eingehen.
another retreat for that and more.
Das müssen wir noch mal
But as we know in brief, Krishna calls the gopis
Die Gopis gerufen,
playing the flute
hat die Flöte gespielt.
in the beautiful full moon,
Der Vollmond,
autumn season, Saradiya Rasa Lila.
Sarah,
So anyhow, Gopis appear and then calling the flute call, but Krishna sends them back to her house.
Krishna schickt sie zurück in die Häuser.
And the gopis, but with double meaning, implying stay with me, but also it can mean go back. The gopis reply, give the reason why they should stay. That's the Pranaya Gita.
Das ist Pranaya Gita.
So anyhow, the gopis defeat Krishna in arguments,
Die Gopis besiegen Krishna.
and the first section of the Rasa Lila begin.
Der erste Teil vom Rasa
So
Lila.
Krishna and the gopis start to dance and sing
Beginnen zu tanzen
and celebrate
und zelebrieren
life and their love for one another.
gegenseitige Liebe.
But at one point, Krishna disappears from the Rasa Lila.
Aber Krishna ist wieder verschwunden vom Rasa
Of
Lila.
course, our Acharya have given many reasons for this.
Also die Acharyas haben viele
Again,
Gründe
no time
dafür.
here to go into that direction. That it's a lot.
Das ist so tief.
I need to make the point connection to this verse. So as we know, Krishna disappears, and all the gopis start to look for Krishna,
Alle suchen nach Krishna.
and they start to follow his footsteps.
Sie folgen seinen Fußspuren.
They recognize them, and at one point they recognize there is a second pair of footsteps. Realize, oh, Krishna left all of us
Und Krishna hat alle
in exchange of one gopi.
in Austausch für eine einzige Gopi.
Who must be this most fortunate gopi?
Anja, die
Anaya Raditonunyam Bhagavan Haririshvara. No, the Gopis say this. This is an indirect verse which speaks about Radha. So anyhow, eventually they say that the gopis find that gopi, although the name of Radha is never mentioned in the Bhagavatam directly for different reasons. That's another lecture or another series. And they find that this gopi was also left by Krishna. Again, many reasons behind this as well. But anyhow, these gopis joined this gopi, and led by Sri Radha, they start to engage in kirtan, in separation of Krishna. They take shelter in the main limbs of bhakti, sadhu sangha and kirtan, in the context of separation. While Krishna is hidden behind a tamal tree, merging, camouflaging his hue with the color of the tamal tree. So he becomes Tamal Krishna. That's the name of Krishna, Tamal Krishna. When he is camouflaged and witnessing the song of the gopis, which is called the Gopi Gita. Jayati te dhikam janmana braja shrayata indira sasvadatrahi. Anyhow, and so on. I'm still giving. That's your reward. That's how I pay you back. Anyhow, so the point is, the heart of the gopis is flourishing in separation, and in separation they reach a new height of love. And Krishna is witnessing all this. In general, we could say Krishna disappeared from the gopis because he knew in separation their love for me will increase. So I love them. So since I love them, I want the best for them. And the best for them is that their love increase. And the best thing for the love to increase is separation now. So that's one of the reasons he disappeared. No? Another reason is also so the rest of the world could witness the glory of the love of the gopis. So among these main reasons, Krishna was hiding. But while witnessing the love of the gopis flourish and grow, and especially the love of Sri Radha in separation, and a new reason came to his mind at that moment. He started to realize, what's Sri Radha's tasting? What's the love she has for me? What's the beauty she perceives in me? What's the happiness she derives by perceiving my beauty? Shri Radhaya Mahima, Pranaya Mahima, Kidrisha Bhana Jaiva, and so on. These famous 3 reasons that will make Krishna create, quote unquote, another lila to solve that dilemma. We are getting closer to that, yeah. So the point is that eventually after this Gopi Gita, Krishna reappears amidst the gopis. And as we know, he appears with his chadar on his neck like a criminal will appear confessing ashamed. And Krishna will pronounce in this context, will say many important things. And basically, he will reply to Brahma's question in this section. Although Brahma is not there, but he had been thinking about the implications of that question for a long time. And at this point, some years after, Krishna is finally able to say something about that. And in his reply, he also will contradict what he said in the Gita, for example. Because in the Gita, again, he says, Yayatamam prapadyanti tam stataiva bhajamiham. According to how you worship me, I reciprocate. But here Krishna will say,
Sagt Krishna,
I'm not able to receive
so ich bin ganz
specifically
schwer
to Radha's love.
Ich bin abhängig von Radharani's Liebe.
I'm not even able to conceive the dimension of the love.
Ich kann nicht mal die Dimension der Liebe abschätzen.
So it's an important point because you are in a debt.
Du bist verschuldet.
So maybe the first question is, how much is that the debt? But what if you don't have it and it's so much that you don't know how much is the debt?
Verschuldet bist, das heißt, den Betrag
What to speak of paying the debt?
hast du schon einen
You don't know how much is the debt.
Du weißt nicht mal den Betrag deiner Schuld.
As we said the other day, first you have to ask what's the currency to pay.
Das ist die Währung.
How much is the debt? So Krishna is bewildered about all the things.
Krishna ist völlig verwirrt.
And he will say, so I cannot repay back. So let your love for me be its own reward.
Möge eure Liebe zu mir das den Lohn sein.
So he will quote one famous verse,
Und dann ist ein ganz bekannt.
which is in one way the reply to today's question by Brahma.
Was Krishna gibt.
And this will be also the beginning of Gaur Lila,
Und dieser Vers ist der Beginn von Gaur.
or the main verse of the Bhagavatam speaking about Gaur Lila.
Das ist der Hauptvers im ganzen Bhagavatam über Gaur.
Not because it speaks directly about Mahaprabhu,
Dass direkt über Mahaprabhu spricht.
but because Krishna is presenting which are the implications
Was sind die
and the problems he finds himself in Braja Lila.
in den Namen Lila findet?
And by properly understanding that, you will think there has to be a solution to
Da
this.
muss doch immer eine Lösung her.
And all that will point to Gaur Lila.
Und diese Lösung nennt man
No?
Gaur.
So in this verse, Krishna is saying,
In
Na-
diesem Vers sagt Krishna,
Naparayiham nirabadya sanjayam swasadhu krityam vibudhaya sabbiva jama bhajandur jarageha shrinkala sambrishya tatva pratiyat sadhunaha. It's a very beautiful verse.
wunderschön.
And here Krishna is basically saying, praising the sadhuna or the sadhuness
Die
of the
Sadhunheit
gopis. As we said the other day, the gopis are sadhus, if you will.
sind Sadhus.
No, they seem
Sind Heilige.
ordinary girls, but the background is sadhuness.
Im Hintergrund ist Sadhuness.
So he's saying your
Sadhuness.
saintliness is such
Ihre Dankbarkeit ist so,
that even if I try to repay you back
selbst wenn ich versuche es
in a daytime, in one lifetime in a day of Brahma, sorry,
Tag von Brahma. Das
long
heißt,
time,
lang.
folks Brahma somehow. So,
Zitiert
Brahma
das
asked here or
Brahma.
something. So even if in a day of Brahma I try to repay back,
Brahma das zurückzahlen versuche,
I cannot do that.
kann ich es nicht zurückzahlen.
So your love is such that may your love for me
Liebe ist so, möge eure Liebe zu
be
mir
its own reward.
der eigene Lohn sein.
I cannot reward that.
Ich kann es nicht
Your
zurückzahlen.
love is such that it's its own reward. It's such a reward that
Das ist so
I
was
want
Schönes.
that reward myself.
Ich möchte diesen Lohn, den möchte ich selber.
You have left all these different material ties which are very difficult to live.
Ja,
Shrinkala.
Shrinkala, alle Banden,
Mm. Only for my sake.
Nur für mich.
So I'm eternally indebted to you.
Ich bin ewig euch verschuldet.
So this is a general meaning of the
Das
verse,
ist die Kleinheit,
which already is too much, a lot.
das ist schon so viel.
So it's interesting because again, remember that in Brahma-stuti, Brahma is not
Brahma-stuti
overtly glorifying the gopis.
ist nicht öffentlich die Gopis
We already explained previously why he's not speaking about Radha and the Parakya and so on. So although the Brahma-stuti in one sense is not including Madhurya Rasa, Brahma here is asking a question in today's verse that makes Krishna think deeply and eventually reply to the question in the context of the gopis' love. So in that sense, Brahma has included them by asking a question that which reply will be in glorification of them. Indirectly, he included the gopis directly because Parakya works indirectly. So he referred to indirectly to the indirect love of Parakya. That's how it works. So going back for a minute to this verse of the Bhagavatam, Naparayiham, that Krishna says to the gopis. So this is the general meaning is what I say. But remember that Sanatana Goswami, in his commentary to today's verse, he was bewildered also. So he started to think deeply about what will Krishna say?
Was will Krishna
So when he was commenting on the Bhagavatam and he reached this other verse that Krishna spoke to the gopis,
der Krishna zu den Gopis spricht,
he wrote a wonderful commentary to that verse,
das schreibt einen langen Kommentar dazu.
which actually appears also in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita,
Der Kommentar erscheint auch im
because this Naparayaham verse is quoted in Brihad Bhagavatamrita.
Parayaham-Verse sind im Bhagavatam.
So according to Sanatana Goswami in his commentary there, Krishna is saying in this verse to the gopis and to Radha in particular, although one idea will be, I cannot repay back to you in a day of Brahma.
In einem Tag von Brahma, das sind 1000 Yuga-Zyklen, kann ich nicht zurückzahlen.
But Krishna is saying, although I cannot repay back in a day of Brahma,
Obwohl ich in einem Tag von Brahma nicht zurückzahlen kann,
I will try
versuche ich es.
once in a day of Brahma.
Einmal
I will try to repay back your love. Although I know I cannot repay back,
Ich weiß es,
but I cannot just remain doing nothing.
aber ich kann nicht einfach nur
So I'll try my best.
faul rumhocken.
Probably by trying my best, I will remain more indebted. Because whatever I will try to give, you will give me back to me in love. But I have to do something. I cannot just remain quiet. So once in a day of Brahma, in this verse of the Bhagavatam comes the word sadhu.
Sadhu.
So Sanatana Goswami says, Krishna says, I will come as a sadhu.
Dann werde ich als Sadhu kommen.
I said in the mood of the devotee, Bhakta Bhav,
Als in der Stimmung
which of course
eines
means Sriman Mahaprabhu.
Sriman
No? So I will come as a sadhu once in a day of Brahma,
Einmal am Tag von Brahma.
and I will try, he's saying to Radha this,
Und er sagt zu Srimati Radharani,
and I will try not only to taste these three main desires that bring Mahaprabhu to the world,
diese drei Wünsche, die
that
ich
we already
jetzt
mentioned,
habe,
but also I will try to make devotees for you.
aber ich mache
He's
auch
saying to
Devotees
Radha.
für dich.
I will try to preach
Ich versuche
the
zu
glories of
predigen,
your love
die Herrlichkeit deiner Liebe,
as a service to you, he's
als
saying to
Dienst
Radha,
zu dir,
as an attempt to reduce my debt of love,
irgendwie versuchen, meinen Schuld zurückzuzahlen.
although that may increase my debt again. No? So Krishna is willing to. So in this way, Sanatana Goswami shows this verse of the Bhagavatam
Im Bhagavatam, dieser Vers,
is announcing the descent of Sriman Mahaprabhu and Gaur Lila.
Mahaprabhu Gaur Lila ankündigen.
So although of course Gaur Lila is eternal and it's going on in Nitya Navadvip,
Die sind schon in Nitya Navadvip immer da.
if we want to connect Krishna Lila with Gaur Lila,
In der Krishna-Lila mit
how the Lila appears on earth, chronologically speaking, after Krishna Lila, Gaur Lila.
chronologisch war danach erst erscheint.
In that sense, we can say in this high point of the Bhagavatam,
Am Höhepunkt von
highest point, Rasa Lila,
Rasa Lila, höchster Punkt.
this is the birth, if you want, of Gaur Lila.
Das ist die Geburt von Gaur Lila.
So this is an important point regarding Gaur Lila. Gaur Lila is not just a bridge to Krishna Lila.
Einfach eine Brücke zum Krishna-Lila.
Gaur Lila is the culmination of Krishna
Das
Lila.
ist die Kulmination
You see, the
von
highest point of Krishna Lila,
Höhepunkt
Rasa Lila,
Rasa Lila.
Gaur Lila appears, explodes there.
Explodiert Gaur Lila.
Volcanic eruption. The golden volcano of divine love appears there.
Goldene Vulkan, göttliche Liebe hat
So in,
Sri Amaharaj ein Buch geschrieben.
in this way, Gaur Lila can be, of course, be seen as a giver of Krishna Lila,
Er ist der Geber von
Yata Yata Gaura Padaravinda. But also we can see Gaur Lila as the ultimate gift of Krishna Lila.
Es ist auch das ultimative Geschenk.
It can be given as the most natural, be seen as the most natural extension of Krishna Lila.
Die natürliche Erweiterung von Krishna Lila ist Gaur Lila.
Because Krishna, as Mahaprabhu,
Als Sri Amaharaj
Krishna can attain those things that he couldn't attain in the Braja Lila.
kann jetzt diese Dinge erlangen.
Again, Braja Lila, Krishna had these
Im Braja
remaining desires.
diese
Was the glory of Radha's love?
die Herrlichkeit
Hmm.
Radharani's Liebe,
Was the beauty she
was die
sees in me?
Schönheit, die Radharani in mir sieht.
Was the happiness she perceives?
Was ist
I don't
das?
know.
Ich habe keine Ahnung.
In
was sie
Braja
ist.
Lila, Krishna
Was ist
says,
meine Schönheit?
I don't know,
Keine Ahnung.
but I want to know.
Aber ich möchte es wissen.
Huh? So I need to fulfill that desire. Krishna's greed attained a new heights. So separate Lila was required for making that happen. And that's Gaur Lila, which is not different from Krishna Lila. It's but an extension of it to facilitate that desire. Sometimes Gaur Lila is called Parishishta Lila, which means like the appendix of a book. Not the appendix here, but in a book. Well, you have a book and the appendix kind of is an afterthought, like closes the whole idea. So in this way, Gaur Lila is Krishna Lila, but upgraded, giving us something more. there's some extra experience in Krishna.
extra.
No, sometimes example is giving of this, how to say, this machine of when you are in India during parikrama, they have this machine that sends sugar cane juice,
Diese Maschine, wo du so Zuckerrohr durchdrehen kannst, durch so Rolle.
and they put the sugar cane and they squeeze the sugar cane.
So
Have you seen that?
habt ihr diese Maschine
No?
gesehen?
And they put once and the juice come.
Da kommt
They
das
put the same
raus,
cane again,
da kommt der nächste
Mhm.
Stock.
and it gives more juice, and it gives more juice. No, so we can give this example with different phases of the absolute.
So, das ist
Ah.
halt verschiedene Phasen des Absoluten.
No? So the first squeezing will be Bhagavan Narayan in Vaikuntha.
Das ist Bhagavan rein in
Some juice is coming.
Und ein bisschen Saft kommt rein.
But someone may say, but there, we can squeeze it more.
Aber
Put
ich
it
kann noch
again.
mehr drücken. Das ist dann
So you squeeze it again, and some Ramachandra in Ayodhya.
Ramachandra.
Oh, some more juice is coming.
so mehr Saft.
Ah. So, but there's more juice to take, to have. Okay, put it again.
Mehr. Okay, weiter drücken.
So then Krishna appears
Und Krishna
in Dwarka.
in Dwarka.
Now, put it again.
Nochmal.
Mathur Krishna is appearing.
Und Mathura Krishna.
Let's squeeze it again.
Weiter.
Braja Krishna.
Kommt Vrindava Krishna.
Okay, this is the highest limit of the whole sugar cane. No more sweetness to extract.
Mehr Süße kann man nicht
I
mehr.
want to say, oh, I think something else can be squeezed from that. Let's try one last time.
Nochmal versuchen.
You squeeze. Sriman Gaur Sundar Mahaprabhu ki jai. So that's the ultimate squeezing of the juice of the absolute, if you will.
Das absolute Preis.
Ah.
Immer mehr Nektar.
So this Gaur Lila is a solution, as I like to say, to Krishna's dilemma in Krishna Lila.
Das ist Golila, ist die Lösung für Krishnas Dilemma.
Or I sometimes like to say Krishna's lack of adhikar.
Das mangelnde Qualifikation.
In Vrindavan, he finds himself, I miss some eligibility to taste Radha Bhav here.
Oder ich habe ein bisschen mehr Feld.
I need to increase my adhikar.
Ich muss meine Qualifikation
Ah.
stärken.
So Krishna inquires how to acquire that adhikar.
Wie kann ich dieses Adhikar
And of course, that adhikar will come from she wants to experience, from Radha's grace. So Shri Radha will become Krishna's teacher in the Prema Vidyalaya, in the school of divine love.
Die Lehrerin
Mhm.
von der Schule von Prem, die sich Krishna einschreibt.
But also, as we spoke these days, grace comes from sadhana.
Aber Gnade
Also.
kommt von Sadhana.
We have to engage in sadhana to attract grace.
Sadhana machen und
Mhm.
das Gnade ausgelöst.
And Krishna in this lila wants her to receive a very specific grace from Radha
Eine bestimmte Gnade,
to be able to taste her experience.
um ihre Erfahrung zu
No? He wants to attain a very specific prayojan, a very specific goal as Gaur. So he has to engage in a very specific sadhana to attain a very specific goal. So that way, since grace comes from practice, and Krishna needs grace to increase his adhikar, Krishna will become a sadhaka as Mahaprabhu. So he will engage in sadhana to attain his ultimate perfection as Gaur. No? And Mahaprabhu will be there, Krishna as a sadhaka trying to attain perfection, and Radha will be there teaching Krishna how to engage in sadhana, how to attain perfection, and giving her bhav. No? And of course, who is that Radha in Gaur Lila? Sri Gadadhar Pandit Ji ki jai. No? So I like to say, Krishna generally is known as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Krishna. And we could say Shri Radha is the Supreme Personality of the Goddess, but Gadadhar is the Supreme Personality of Radha. Because if Krishna is in a higher need as Mahaprabhu to experience something, Shri Radha will increase her disposition of service to be able to serve that higher need that Krishna is having. So in the form of Sri Sri Gaur Gadadhar, we find the highest expression of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. So we are very fortunate to have them as Istadev here in Anandadham. But I have only touched about the glories of Sri Sri Gaur Gadadhar. That deserves a whole separate series of lectures. who knows, probably that's the perfect excuse to be back here at the feet of Golgotha and all the Vaishnavas and Anandam. But anyhow, I wanted to connect today's verse of Brahma-stuti No. to how although Krishna doesn't say anything here in reply, the implications of Brahma's question, where do they conclude, exploding you ultimately at the feet of Sri Sri Gaur Gadadhar. Oh, yeah, that deserves a big aho. So, so in the next verse, just to keep the thread, no? We won't be here, but hopefully we'll maybe connected somehow. In the next verse, after reaching this high point, as we mentioned, and Brahma extending the meters because his bow is extending, Brahma will somehow become calm and enter the last 5 verses of conclusion and reflection. And Brahma will continue to praise the Brajavasis, but with a verse that apparently seems disconnected to this. No, but actually Brahma will be contrasting there the lifestyle of materialistic people with the apparent mundane lifestyle of Brajavasis. Because Brajavasis are attached to their house, to their family, to their animals, but they are attached to all of them in Krishna's service. Exactly. Tavat kara griham griham tavat angri mohani gados yavat Krishna natejana. So that's a very important, interesting verse as well. So that will be the next verse, and the contrast Brahma will make to make it clear, because in this verse he's saying the Brajavasis are giving everything to you, your house, families, and so. And then he makes it clear what's the difference between them and an ordinary person who apparently externally seems to be similar. But again, Braja Lila is aprakrita. Seems prakrita, seems mundane, but it's aprakrita, which means super transcendental. That will be the next verse that we will be seeing, like starting in a week or so in Costa Rica. So see you in Costa Rica. So do you have time for questions? We have a few minutes. I don't want to delay. So go on.
Yeah, I also feel a bit of muhyati right now because
Great.
you just said quite at the end that Krishna realizes that he's not able to give back, but that he feels he's incapable, but that he can't just lay back and do nothing. So even though
That he can't do that.
yeah, but the intention is there. He feels like, oh, even though I can't, I will try it. So the attitude is there. And you also mentioned yesterday that verse where it says, when you give, you offer. It doesn't matter, even if you're the poorest person, you can just give it 1 drop of water or 1 leaf. So, and then there was the other description of the rice milk, that if you have a lot and you give and you stick to the rules, you do everything perfect, but you give that sweet rice, but your attitude or your intention is not like, oh, I made it for you, it's but it's, come on, eat quick, it's for me. So here the outside seems perfect, but the intention is not from the heart. And now you said several times in that you mentioned to that verse that Krishna acts the opposite. He gave Putana the highest possible reward, even though her intention was terrible, but the outside was right. And the brothers, their intention wasn't that bad, and their outfit was not right, so they got less reward. So it seems like the outside appearance there was more important than the intention. So that's the opposite than what we've been saying, how we should
Das ist die innere Intention.
Yeah, yeah, I get
Our
it.
devotion. Sorry, so that's so confusing for me.
Das ist
Why
für mich
he
so
looks at the appearance
Mhm.
more than at the
Erscheinung, äußere Verkleidung mehr als auf Haltung.
Oh, astonishment. So what we made, the point we made yesterday that you mentioned is remains there. Krishna is Baba Grahi Janardana. He takes the essence of the offering.
Die Essenz der Opferung, das ist die
Putana's case is an exception to that rule.
das ist eine
No,
Ausnahme.
this is an example of what we call Kripa Siddhi,
Das ist Kripa Siddhi.
which means again, Krishna is giving extreme mercy
Krishna hat extreme Gnade.
even though the person is not doing almost anything to deserve that.
Obwohl die Person gar nicht
So the point with that is Krishna can do whatever he likes.
Krishna kann ja sagen,
No, I mean, there's a certain way he proceeds, and we are advised to approach him. I mean, we are not advised to follow Putana. It's not that after that section our Acharya say, so you can just have devotional dress, and even if you want to kill Krishna, no problem, Krishna will give you Vatsalya. That's never say like that. So this type of exceptional cases are just examples to make some points. And one of the points is, if Krishna wants to bestow full perfection to anyone, he can do it. All of that generally doesn't happen. It will happen in the case of you have to want that and have certain, but that's an example that highlights how merciful Krishna can be. So you have to understand this type of sections try to make some points that in one sense go beyond the situation in itself. Another point is again to wear devotional clothes is something that Krishna likes, because the point is Putana dressed as a Brajavasi. So the idea with this is Krishna is so much biased towards the Brajavasis that whatever reminds him of the Brajavasis is like, oh, I have such an affection for you because you remind me of my beloved Brajavasis.
This is like a seva, Udipan seva.
Udipan means a stimulant. So someone dressed in a way that stimulated Krishna. Oh, Brajavasis, I love you so much. No, but he wants to kill you. But she remind me of my Brajavasis. So nice. So again, this story is making the point how much Krishna is conquered by the Brajavasis. And how we as sadhakas also using devotional clothes may help us to help. Maybe Krishna will feel, oh, this clothes maybe somehow connected to the Brajavasis for him, and he may show her some grace. So that's the point that is wanted to make in that point, in that section. It's not so much like, oh, Krishna forgot the inner attitude and just captured by externals or something like that.
Krishna doesn't want to propagate heuchelei,
Duplicity.
Huh? Duplicity
Mhm.
or something, you know,
Mhm.
that you just externally show something.
Mhm.
But, you know, this is not the word.
No. So that's it, the point. Now we have these different apparently contradicting statements, so we try to engage in Sangati, no? Which is reconciliation. So again, the point remains, Krishna is not promoting duplicity. He remains taking the essence of a devotee. But again, this situation is very exceptional one. And wants to make these important points. That the main points have nothing to do with Krishna is now considering only the externals. But the main points are, again, Krishna is so merciful that he can give anything at anywhere. And even on top of that, he's totally conquered by the Brajavasis. So whatever resembles that to him, his heart melts and he becomes specially inclined to them. Because God in general is seen as impartial. But Krishna is not impartial. No? And Krishna Chandra Prabhu is quoting the verse that I plan to quote now. Samoham sarvabhutisu namedvesistinapriya jivayanti tumam bhaktya mai me tetsuchatyaham. So the first two lines are spoken by Paramatma, God, impartial. Samo aham sarvabhutisu, I'm equal to all living beings. Namedvesistinapriya, there's nobody who is especially dear, nor, what is the opposite, undear to me? No, I don't favor anyone special. I'm impartial. I'm God. I'm Paramatma.
Niemand ist mir lieb, ich habe kein Hass für
But the second part of the verse spoken by Krishna. Ji bayanti tumam bhaktya. But if you worship me with bhakti, oh, maite tisvachapyaham, you become especially dear to me. No? So I'm impartial on one level, and on top of that, I'm partial. But not the material partiality, but partiality in context of bhakti. But it's a proper reciprocation. I become especially attracted to you because you are especially giving yourself to me. So Krishna naturally reciprocates. So we as sadhakas try to bear that in mind. No? We have to know Krishna's psychology. We have to know, okay, if I as a sadhaka somehow connect my life with the Brajavasis and all the things, that will take Krishna's attention. How can I get Krishna's attention? Well, we already know who have Krishna's attention fully, the Brajavasis. So the more we hear about them, speak about them, try to live following their example, the more Krishna's attention will be, oh, this guy there in Switzerland has some connection with my Brajavasis. Oh. And someone will say, yes, but they have so many defects yet, all these guys here. I can say, no, but they are speaking about my Brajavasis and hear about them. I'll give them full perfection. And Krishna will skip all the other long list of stuff that is again, this is not an invitation for us to be lazy. We have to balance. But we have to have that, we have to have this consideration in mind also. That means to be skilled in our sadhana, to become more expert. We start to know which is the psychology of our deity, how Krishna's mind and heart works, and how can I get there? I cannot get there directly by myself again. I have to get there through those who are his heart. Again, we get to this principle of dasanudas, or raga anuga. So some thoughts in that connection. Okay. You have time?
Yeah.
Okay.
The liberation of the
what, sorry?
The liberation,
Yeah.
the mukti of the asuras, the brothers of which kind of liberation is it? It seems like it's given from that Paramatma, not Krishna. I have to understand which kind of liberation it is first. And anyway, is it that the asuras, once liberated, they become Krishna's devotees? This implicates that they reciprocate the love of Krishna and so on. So which is their position as liberated souls?
I see. Well, there are lots of things to say in that connection. I'll try to be brief because the reply deserves a whole separate lecture. But there are different asuras, so not all of them will attain the same situation. Like we see this example of Putana. She attained Vatsalya, no, like a relationship of being a mother of Krishna in Vrindavan. Although some acharyas will say that her Vatsalya, or there are different ways of saying that. Some of them have saying she attained an outer section of Golok. There are different sections in Golok: Antar Mandal and Bahir Mandal, the inner circle and the outer circle. So the outer circle is more predominated by Aishwarya. Even Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said there Radha and Krishna are in Swakiya, not in Parakiya. So some say she attained Vatsalya there, which is more in an outer section than the one we want to go. Not like implying, nonetheless, she didn't have a positive attitude, so that cannot take her to the innermost circle. A way of putting that. But regarding your question of Bakasura, Agasura, generally they say that most of the other asuras attain Sayuja Mukti. Of course, there are some exceptions. For example, Dantavakra and Sisupal, there's in the Lila they are seen to have attained Sayuja Mukti, but the background of them too is that they are Jai and Vijay. Remember that they have to take 3 birds. Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksa, Ravana, Kumbhakarna, Dantavakra, Sisupal, and some bonus track at Jagai Madai to say that. But the point is, as Asuras, Dantavakra and Sisupal seem to attain Mukti, Sayuja Mukti, but actually they are the gatekeepers of Vaikuntha. No? So it seems something, but it's something else. But in general, some other asuras like Bakasura, it's said to attain Sayuja Mukti. Because why? The idea is these asuras, they're persons who have no bhakti. So if you have no bhakti samskars, but they have entered in touch with Krishna, well, that's another thing that it is said that there are many topics in connection. It's said that Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Braja Krishna, he's only, when he descends, he's only absorbed in loving his Vrajavasis. He doesn't enter in direct contact with any asura. He doesn't even kill any asura, because that's not his job. That's the job of Vishnu, to establish Juga Dharma, kill demons. Krishna doesn't have anything to do with that. He only comes to interact with his devotees, with bhakti. So it is said that the killing of the demons is performed at the Vishnu portion inside of Krishna. It's made by Jiva Goswami in the Sandarbhas. So Krishna is not engaged in that part. The Vishnu side of him did that. So that's also one point, that connection. But regarding someone like Bakasura attaining, or Agasura, some say Agasura attains Sayuja Mukti. There are different opinions. Some will say Sarupya Mukti. And some will say he attained, well, it's too much. Let's stay in Sayuja Mukti for a minute. If someone is an Asura, and it's not a Jai Vijay or something, the idea is that person doesn't have Bhakti Samskars. So they are not devotional. The presence of Bhakti is not there. But by being killed by Krishna, Vishnu, which is a very unique feature of Krishna, the demons he kills obtain Mukti. With other avatars, that's not happening. They do not obtain Mukti. So that's why they say these demons were killed before by Nrsimha, Varaha, Ram, but didn't obtain liberation. But when they were killed by Krishna, or the Vishnu portion in Krishna, they finally obtain Mukti. So if someone is an Asura, doesn't have any Bhakti Samskars, but suddenly you are touched by Krishna, which means that immediately cleanses you from all impurities. So the conclusion is, if you don't have any Bhakti Samskars, but if you suddenly get free from all material contamination, so what is the goal you will attain? Brahma Sayuja. Because that's the result. I mean, you don't want Bhakti, you don't have Bhakti Samskars, but you don't have any Maya, Shakti, any material contamination. So the only possible result in that situation is Brahma Sayuja. When there is no material contamination, but basically there is no Bhakti either. So they attain that position. Brahma Sayuja. Now in connection to Agasura, also Jiva Goswami explains that he attained Bhagavat Sayuja. So there are different types of Sayuja Mukti. So Bhagavat Sayuja is to merge in the body of Bhagavan. That's what was seen to Agasura actually. When Krishna walked out of the body, the Atma of Agasura merged into Krishna's body. So interestingly, this unique form of Sayuja is what took the attention of Brahma to come and to earth and see what's this extraordinary thing that happened. And when he came, he saw the picnic, and that gave place to Brahma Vimohan Lila, and that gave place to Brahma-stuti. It all began with Bhagavad Sayuja. No? So anyhow, some words regarding that. I know it's a complex topic, and there are many new terms and words and categories, and may take some time to unpack, so no rush. But there are replies to those things. Okay, are we on time already now? It's 9:30, so I think we can wrap up here. Moses had a question?
Very small.
The questions are small. Let's see the answers. I'm not a good small answer person. Let's see.
It's important to know about the associates because that attracts Krishna, you said, right?
Yes.
So is there an order? We should know first about the associates of Mahaprabhu. I heard this once because they know the mood of the Vrajavasis, and by their mercy we can get this mood also.
Yeah, of course, to begin with, it's important to know about the associates. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that when you reach the stage of Ruchi, the associate of Bhagavan becomes more important than Bhagavan himself. Of course, we may not be in Ruchi, but in theory, we start to learn that the associates are more important because they personified love for Krishna. And love is the real goal, not Krishna. But in Ruchi, you have full realization about this. So that's important. And regarding your question, it's a good way to begin by following the sequence Gaur Lila, and then go to the life and in detail, as we spoke the other day on Srila Siddhar Maharaj's Tirobab, the importance of taking the time to know the life. But even when I say to know the associates in Gaur Lila, I would say it all begins from your own Gurudev, if you will. Even contemporary Vaishnavas that we are connected with, have taken shelter in eventually. And your Gurudev, their Param Gurudev. And this way we go through the parampara. And gradually we, of course, reach all the ones who accompanied Mahaprabhu in the Leela itself. And gradually we will connect with their parallel versions in Braj, if you will. But I will say it all begins by the sadhus that are close to your life, even, no? Which is so important. I mean, we already have sadhus nearby us, so it's important not so much to know their life, which day you were born, which was your biography, but to know the person, to know their life, their heart, how they conduct their prayers, to become imbibed by who they are. And that will help us to know who these other personalities are as well. So that will be some form of sequence, if you will.
Thank you.
So study about the life of Krishna Chandra Prabhu, be very attentive. And so many others as well, of course. All of the Vaishnavas are, one level or another, all the Vaishnavas' lives are worthy of study, examination, in that sense, like paying close attention and appreciating. Even again in neophyte Vaishnavas, as we said the other day, that is glorious. So we should pay attention to that glory. Okay. Thank you so much to all of you for your time, for your kind generosity, friendship, shelter, invitation to experience Ananda Dham. It has been really Anandi for me. I'm full of Ananda by being Ananda Dham. So you have a really nice name for your place. Totally justified. So I hope that somehow or other I may remain in contact and in the service of all the nice Vaishnavas here and who are visiting, living, and connected with this unique place. And Shri Gaur Gadadhar, Shri Radha Govinda. So let's keep in touch in Seva. Thanks so much. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Gaur Gadadhar ji ki jai, Shri Radha Govinda ki jai, Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Brahma-stuti ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shriman Krishna Chandra Prabhu ki jai, Shri Ananda Dham ki jai, Sadhu Sangha ki jai, Gaur Pramanand Hari Bol. Panchakalpatarubhya kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Hari Bol.